I'll give you an intro, a breakdown, a profile of our very seasoned speaker. Now, she has a wealth of experience. You must bear in mind that before I hand her the floor, you need to know that she's here to share from her wealth of experience. And regardless of what area of business, when it comes to business management, as a boss, as a leader, as a business tycoon, to be at the top requires certain skills. And the best way to learn is from the ones that have all the experience. Now, she's a distinguished expert in her field, and she's got lots to share. So over the next hour or hour and a half, we're going to be delving into different strategies. We're going to be talking about challenges that she has faced, opportunities for women out there also in business management. Please listen attentively and think about all the questions you might have. It is time, ladies, for me to introduce you to our very distinguished speaker. Meet Vivian Savia. Our speaker is called Vivian Savia. She's a seasoned accounting and finance professional who is also breaking boundaries in the skincare industry. As a lead formulator and founder of Nature's Bar Co., that is Nature's Bar Company. In 2015, she established her company where she formulates and she creates organic skincare products that promote healthy skin. As a financial manager in the private development sector, she ensures project resources are efficiently and effectively utilized in order to achieve project goals. Her journey doesn't stop there. She is also empowering women through her digital skincare society platform by coaching, training, and helping them to unlock their potentials. Ladies, our distinguished guests, please let's put our hands together and make welcome Vivian Savia, our speaker for this evening. I'm going to hand you the floor. Vivian, you have the floor.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction. Good evening, everyone. It's absolutely a privilege to be here this evening to fellowship, chat with, and share with all you ladies concerning my journey. So I'm going to go straight into what we have to do today, but it's going to take a different turn. I remember when I saw, all the things you were expected to learn, I was like, oh, that's a lot. Those are things you can't really cover in a day, especially when the audience is from a mixed background. I was listening to what everyone is doing. I've seen business developers, someone that has finished school, operations managers, data analysts, financial advisors, and the rest. I didn't see much of entrepreneurs in them, and I suspected that we would have a mixed crowd. So I thought to myself, what can I share that can empower everyone that comes into this webinar today, irrespective of their background, irrespective of their career, or irrespective of the fact that probably they're successful entrepreneurs or they're about to delve into entrepreneurship. So I figured, what can I share that can empower you in business or in your career, or just to help you to get to that next stage in life that you desire or that you dream about. And so I figured that I was going to share a mantra that has changed my life and is still changing my life. Now, in the process of sharing this evening, I will have examples from my career. I could have examples from my business. I will make recommendations for books. But most importantly, I would hope that you have your pen and your paper and you're writing down, because I would also ask you questions. I would ask you to think and come up with certain answers, because when you're able to go through that process, then I'm sure that the things you hoped to learn today, you'll be able to figure them out. You'll be able to, at the end of today's webinar, chart a course or a path that you're going to go on. And in the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months, you would see results definitely. And so it's going to be practical. Feel free to drop comments in the chat box as I ask questions. Feel free to drop the comments. And then you can have your specified questions, maybe relating to your field or your niche or anything that has to do, specifically with maybe finance or business. If you're about to start a business, then I can answer those questions specifically. But I'm going to go right ahead and share a story that changed my life. So I started my career as a banker. And very early in that, 2 years down the line, I figured that I didn't see a future for myself back then in the banking industry. And then I began to say, what could I do with my life? What should I do? I immediately went and decided, okay, I was going to go study for my first master's degree. And I told myself that after that, I would switch career roles into the development sector. And that was an opportunity for me as well to practice accounting, because I studied as an accountant, and in the banking sector, I wasn't working as an accountant, it was marketing. It was an opportunity also for me to learn marketing skills, how to sell, how to put yourself out there and convince people to part with their money because you have, something of value to offer. So that was me kind of beginning to take my future in my hands and design my life the way I wanted it to go. And then I finished my master's. I came back. I was, focused on working in the development sector. After a year or after about a year, I finally landed my first role in the development sector, and the journey started. But then life was just basic. It was go to work, come back, do whatever you have to do, watch TV, leave, travel. There wasn't much, and it was okay. It was okay until I listened to Miles Monroe, and he was talking about your life and how all you have in this life is time, and how you could be more, you could do more, you could change more lives. And then that actually started my journey to learning, getting more knowledge, and that actually birthed my first company, which is Nature's Bar Company, a natural skincare brand here in Abuja. But then in the process, I eventually got to meet a man called Jim Ron. Now, I didn't meet him physically. I met him via a YouTube link someone sent to me. I think it was my sister, one of my sisters. She sent it on the family group. She sent a YouTube link, and I listened to this man. And there was something he said in that first video that struck me, and this is what I want to share with us today. He said, when you change, everything changes. Wow. When you change, everything changes. Meaning that when I change, my business will change. When I change, my career will change. The results that I seek, I will then have. When I change, means that I'm letting go of the excuses of the economy, my background, my educational, background, my limitation in skills, and all the excuses that I had been coming up with. I began to see that I had to take responsibility for my life. And when I take responsibility for my life, then the results that I desire will then happen. And so that's what I want us to discuss today, but in the light of being empowered as women in business and in management, or I could say in your career, because most of us here are career ladies. So that changed my life. I began to change. I began to be intentional in changing daily. At the end of every day, I have to take stock. What did I learn today? What did I do differently today? What kind of results did I get today? Did I get the kind of results that I desire? If not, why? Why didn't I do what I should do? I started having those reflections. I started having goals. I started dreaming and creating the life that I really wanted, the kind of life I wanted to live, the kind of career I wanted to have. It wasn't going to happen by chance. The kind of business I wanted to have, the kind of income, financial freedom, stability I wanted to enjoy, even down to the kind of relationships I wanted to have. I began to take responsibility and to look inwards and to change. And that's when things started changing for me in my career. The kind of roles I went for were different. The kind of opportunities I went for were different. Before I would shut the door on opportunities by myself, I would write myself out. I would say, they asked for 9 years experience. I don't really have 9 years. Maybe I have 8 at that point. Maybe I shouldn't go for that job. You know how we women tend to, excuse ourselves out of opportunities, whereas men, even when they are not fully qualified, they go for it. And because they go for it, they get it. So I began to look at all this and I began to change, and my results started changing. So that's the story I want to share with us today, in the light of becoming more as women in business or women in career or people that are thinking of starting an entrepreneurial venture. The key here is when you change, everything changes. And you might say, why? Why should I change? Because change, like we all know, change is not something human beings like. Change takes you out of the status quo. Change unravels, it shakes up the nest. We're used to doing things a certain kind of way. Me personally, I'm a creature of habits. Like, if I start something and it's working, I don't want to change it. If I go somewhere and I like a location, I could keep going there or keep sitting in a spot. There's no need to change it. So imagine in mundane things like that. Now imagine about difficult things like having to change your diet, change your work ethics, change your discipline routine. Those things are a little bit more difficult. So we might begin to ask ourselves, why should I change? Why should I pay the price? Why should I learn more? Because if I might add, you can't change without knowledge. You can't change without learning. And I went on a rigorous journey for a good number of years, learning, studying, devouring books, YouTube videos, podcasts. At some point, I would ask myself, all these things you're listening to, all these books you're reading, to what end? Why don't you just, you're an accountant, focus on your job and everything? But I devoured knowledge on financial management, how to run my business, how to sell, how to pivot, leadership, managing people, career books. I began to devour everything I could lay my hands on that was available in printed form, soft copy PDF books, YouTube's, podcasts. I devoted myself to the process of learning so that I could change. So the question is, why? Why should you? We've joined this webinar this evening is because I think you believe that there's something you're going to gain and there is a change you want to experience in your life. So it means that you're kind of willing to learn. A lot of you mentioned that you're here to learn. But for some people, they're asking why. Why should they see it all? Why should they do it? Why should they study? Why should they develop themselves? I had to develop myself in my career as a financial professional. I had studied accounting in school. I had gotten jobs, without being a chartered accountant. But when I began to go through this process, I realized that for me to be the best in opportunities, for me to be the best in the room, I had to further my education. And so I had put my ICANN process, which is the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, I had put it on the back burner for a while. But when I began to pour into myself, I realized I can't get into the rooms I want to get into if I don't tick this off, the list. And then I went back and I chartered as an accountant. So why do we need to develop ourselves? Why do we need to change? Why do we need to earn as much as we can? Some of us want to learn about financial empowerment, and you can't earn more if you don't know more, because the difference between you and the next person in an interview, for example, is the knowledge. We both have the same blood running through our veins, but what distinguishes you from the next person is the knowledge that you have. So if you want to earn more, as much as you can, and not just more, as much as you can, because some of us have the capacity to earn way more than we are earning. So why do you need to even touch more lives? Because if you're empowered in business and you're empowered in your career and you're empowered in your finances, then you're automatically empowered to touch more lives, just like Dr. Hamilton is doing by gathering us together. She's touching lives, you know. So why? The issue is why? Why do you want to do this? And that's because we've come to understand that when your why is big enough, every other thing falls into place. But if your why is not big enough, if your why is not strong enough, why do you want to learn more? Why do you want to be empowered financially? Why do you want to find out your niche in business? Why do you want to start a business? Are you starting it because everybody is starting it? Are you starting it just because, okay, things are rough, you just need to start a hustle? Why? That is something I want us to first of all answer this evening. I want you to think about your why. Why do you want to be empowered? Why do you even want to know more about business? Why did you sign up for this webinar? Do you just want to tick off the box? Or do you just want to listen to somebody else? Or do you just want to you have time this evening and you can spare an hour or 30 minutes? Why? Because when your why is powerful, then the how will be easy. A lot of us came this evening to know hows, different hows, or how to start my business, how to empower myself, but my first question is, if you know your why, then your how will be easy. Because the how for every one of us is going to be different. The how for every one of us, the legal consultant, the business developer, the lady that just finished school, the operations manager, your hows are all going to be different, but your why is what's going to make it very easy. And so you need a very, very powerful why. And I want you to answer this question. And when I say answer, I want you to be writing it out in your material. What kind of skills, what kind of power, what kind of influence, what kind of income, what kind of family, what kind of business do you want to have? I always like to ask this question because I like how the moderator was asking about expectations. Expectations is similar to having a why, because if you don't know the kind of business you want to have, or the next step you need to take, or the kind of income you want to have, or the kind of influence that you want to have in your career or in your business, then it becomes difficult to achieve it. It becomes difficult to achieve it. And then the next thing I want you to know is, after you've figured out and written out the kind of skills you want to have, do you want to have tech skills? There's a lady in tech, or there's a tech enthusiast that we have amongst us. Do you want to know how to use all the Python and all the coding skills? What kind of skills do you want to have? What kind of influence do you want to have? Do you want to have influence in your business career? Do you want to have influence in the development sector? I have a goal that at some point in my career, I will be among the top 10 female financial leaders in the development sector. Yes, that's the kind of influence I want to have. What kind of income do you want to have? Because when you have that as a picture, I want to earn XYZ monthly, or I want to earn XYZ annually, either on my job or through my business. When you have that kind of clarity with your goals, then the why, the hows become easy. You're going to be able to then empower yourself with the skills, the information, the knowledge you need to achieve the goals that are unique and specific to you. That's the route I want us to look at today. And somebody might say, okay, why should I go all the way to do that? I just want to live a good life. I just want to, have a good job, to be promoted to the next level, just minimal dreams and visions. And the question is, why? Why don't you want to see how much you can become? Why don't you want to see how much you can develop? Why don't you want to see how many people you can reach? Why don't you want to see how far you can go, how much you can do? And why shouldn't it be you, Faith? You can study, you can change your life, you can grow, you can build a financial wall around your family, you can increase your influence, you can increase your network, you can literally become anything you want to be as a business owner, in your career, or in any area of life that you choose to play in. And so I have a couple of questions that I want us to go through today before we delve into your specific financial or business related questions, because we're from different backgrounds. And so that's why I'm taking this route. So I want you to think, so for most of us, we're in our careers. Some of us may have been 5 years, 9 years, 10 years, 3 years, 2 years, and maybe we feel stuck. We need to take the next step and go to the next step in our career. And probably we don't know, what to do. How do I do it differently? How do I land my dream job? How do I land maybe a remote role? How do I switch into another industry? Oh, maybe I want to switch into the tech industry. How do I do that? And I want you to think and answer, what could you have achieved in the past if you were more disciplined, if you are more diligent, if you worked smarter, or if you tried differently? Personally, when I did this exercise, there were so many things I could have achieved in the past. Academically, there are so many opportunities to have sat for exams. Even there was a time I had an opportunity to switch into tech. I had the passion, I had the time, I had the opportunity, but I didn't take it. I wasn't disciplined. I wasn't diligent. Even when I reflected on my roles earlier on in my career, there are opportunities. So for example, I mentioned that I started my work in the bank, but I would say, I left because I didn't have a full picture of how far I could go. I could have gone in the bank. If I was a bit more disciplined, had exposed myself to other female bankers or even male bankers who would give you coaching and show you the ropes in the banking industry, I'm very sure I could have created a very good niche for myself in the banking industry. But I wasn't working smarter. I wasn't doing things differently. Then I was just going to the bank, working, market, complain about marketing, and go home. I didn't see the opportunity that being in the banking industry gives you. One of the major opportunities it gives you is that it connects you to people from all walks of life, especially the movers and the shakers, the decision makers. Those are running the economy, the businessmen, the politicians. It connects you. And your network is your network, as you know. Your network is your net worth. So because I really wasn't that diligent in that opportunity I had where I was as a banker, I didn't make the most of it. Fine, I've been able to navigate and do other things, but in reflecting, if I was a bit more diligent or working smarter or try things differently, I could have achieved a lot more in the past, even in my earlier roles in the development sector. So I want us to think, what could you have achieved in the past if you were more disciplined, if you were more diligent, if you were working smarter, or if you tried things differently? It's basically a session to think and write out. Because when you self-reflect, then the course that you need to chart for your career or for your business, it becomes very clear. The next step you need to take becomes very clear when you're able to answer these questions. And so the next question I have for us is, how can you achieve more in the future? In your career, like I said, I realized that to be able to snag certain roles, I needed to charter as an accountant. And in the past 3 years, I decided that I needed to land roles such as a director, finance director in the development sector where I am. And one thing I do is before I take a decision, I analyze, especially for my career. I look at the roles, I see the requirements, and then I begin to work my way to that role. So I set a goal for 5 years' time. Okay, in 5 years' time or in 3 years' time, I want to work in this kind of organization, earn this kind of income, and land this kind of role with this kind of title. But then I say, what does that require of me? And that took me back to school in the past 2 years. I had to go get my MBA because to be a director in the development sector, you need an MBA. And that is me reflecting and asking myself, how can I achieve more in the future? In my future, I see director roles. In my future, as a business owner, I see my business expanding to different markets within Africa and outside Africa. But for me to get there, I need to be more disciplined. I need to be more diligent. I need to manage my time better. I need to say no. I need to say no to opportunities that don't align with my vision. I saw that a lot in my career, comparing that with some of my colleagues. And, every day there are jobs every day. I mean, if you go online to all the job sites, there are job opportunities every day. But the question is, do all those job opportunities align to your own goal and vision for your life? Because you see, it's a case of people taking one random role and then another. And then when you look at their career history, nothing is making sense. It's just jumping from one place to another. Or if you look at the roles, it's from this to this to this. It's not making sense. It's not even you're not even able to leverage the experience in the previous role and bring it into the next role, making it an advantage. So you have to learn to say no's. So how can you achieve more in the future? Are you ready to try harder? Trying harder is trying harder in business, in your marketing, trying harder in your sales, trying harder in studying, trying harder in availing yourself to opportunities like webinars like this, trying harder in reading, studying, getting as much information as you can. How can you achieve more in the future? By not giving up easily. There are professional exams that I've given up easily in the past, that I know that if I had gone through with it, I wouldn't necessarily be where I am now. I would be a lot more better. But I gave up easily. And also another way to achieve much in the future is to dream bigger. And that's kind of what I want us to take from today, because remember the mantra we're looking at: when you change, meaning when you dream bigger, when you have a clear vision for your life, what you want to do, how you want to do it, what you want to be in your sector, how far you want to go in your sector, what you want to do as an entrepreneur, how much you need to push, then every other thing changes. But then I also want you to appreciate yourself for how far you've done, because it's a fuel for you to actually achieve more. You need to appreciate your style, your process, while asking yourself, how can I achieve more in the future? For some of us, we just need to be more disciplined. For some of us, to achieve more, we just need to dream bigger. We already have the skills, we already have the work ethics, we already are self-driven, we are self-starters, we know what to do, we know how to do it, but we're just dreaming small. So for some of us, it's just to dream bigger. For other people, it's to say no to distractions. Sometimes I'm in the African Women Entrepreneurship Cooperative, AWEC, and we were discussing last week about results, about going through the program. It was a 1-year program. And one of the ladies, she was telling us a story. She said, when she joined the program, she had 6 to 7 businesses. But after the program, consulting, because you had a program manager assigned to you, you had mentors and all. At the end of the process, she closed down all the rest of them, left only one standing. And that meant she had to let staff go and, focus on one business. But in the last 1 year, that business has made times 16 of what all the 6 and 7 businesses were doing over the last years. And so that was her saying no to what doesn't align to your goal, your vision, your plan, the skill sets you need to get, the career path you want to be on, the how much you want to take your business, how far you want to take it, saying no to anything that is a distraction. So for some of us, the only way we can achieve more is to say no. Yeah. Then the next thing I want you to do is to record what have you achieved in the last years, tangibly. What have you achieved? What have you become? What have you accomplished? What have you acquired? Compare it with your goals. Now, if you didn't have any goals before, part of today's plan is for you to come up with goals for your life, for your finances, for your business, for your family, for your whole, your career. You need to come up with goals, because when you have goals, then you have a benchmark, then you have something you can compare with, and then you can reflect and know if you're making progress or not. For the business owners, if you don't have an annual revenue goal, then the year is going to come and go, and there is no clarity on whether you made progress or not. Yes, you might have had annual sales, but did it align with your benchmark? If you had a goal to make 40 million revenue in terms of sales in the year, then you have something that you can measure with and say, okay, we didn't meet this target. Why? How? What could we have done better? So that's why it's very important to have your goals. And what I want you to do today is compare. What have you achieved in the last years? Because it serves as a very good encouragement for you as you're going on this next stage in your business or in your career. Who have you become? I wasn't speaking in the past. I used to have stage fright. I used to be afraid of speaking in the public. I mean, if you even call me to speak, you have literally messed up my life up until the point where I need to speak. However, from primary, secondary school, I was always being thrown into the spotlight to speak. There's almost no meeting where I'm not asked to speak. And it was a challenge. But then I had to reflect and say, okay, this is a major challenge. I have palpitations, I'm sweating, my hand is physically shaking, my heart is beating, I'm stumbling over my words, but I'm always being asked to speak. So maybe there's some speaking in my future. What do I need to do? And that was when I began the journey of working on myself. I read books on public speaking. I read books on, being prepared. And I began to realize, oh, it was fear. It was fear. I studied. And what are you afraid of? And that was how I overcame, the challenge of being afraid of public speaking. And it's just been easy for me so far. So if I'm reflecting on my journey and my lessons, this is one of the things that I would write down, that I have overcome the fear of public speaking. I've overcome the fear of selling. When I started working in the bank, I was made a marketer. Now that was so new to me. Like, how do I just walk up to somebody and start telling them to open an account with this bank? They already have an account. And to be frank, back then, almost every bank was offering the same service. There was literally no difference in the packages. Interest rates were literally the same. The benefits of a savings account, everybody had the same thing that they were offering. So what is really unique? But I went through that process and I mastered the art of marketing. And then when I entered business, I thought it was a different ball game. I had to struggle because when I started my business, I was initially the person handling my social media pages. And I will engage with customers. And after I've made recommendations, the conversation is smooth and then it goes cold. And then I realized I had the difficulty to ask them, so would you like to buy? And I read a book about selling by Brian Tracy. So if you're here, you're a business owner and you're trying to figure out, okay, how to increase sales or stuff like that, then you need to study about sales. And I'll recommend you get, Brian Tracy has several books about selling. Now I read one of them and he told me, you have to ask. And I remember my personality was standing in the way. Like, I find it hard to just ask people about money. Back then, it would be difficult to talk about money or ask people to give me money. And that was hindering my business. But I remember when I got that information and I reflected, I began to ask, so would you like to place an order? And immediately, people that had gone cold after, let's say, 3 days of a conversation, they would say yes. And it worked like magic. So if I'm reflecting on my journey, I would also reflect on how I have changed as a person, as a business owner. Business has changed me. You know, I can ask, I can market, I can sell, and that is something I will write about in my journey. I have changed. I have become a person that can attract money because of the skills, the expertise, the experience, the knowledge that I've poured into myself. So what have I accomplished in the past years? For example, I could make reference to the changes in my character. I could make reference to, the fact that I've metamorphosed into a woman who can share her stories, stand before other women, stand before men, and share my experience either as a business owner or in my career. I have changed. And I think that change is more impactful and powerful for me than the changes I've experienced in my career. But I've changed in my career. I've changed from, a clueless banker to somebody that has clearly defined how her career wants to be in a particular sector. I've changed in the kind of roles that I'm going for. I've changed in the kind of money that I earn. I've changed in my education. I have several degrees. I have changed in my skill set. I have acquired skills in problem solving. Now, these are the soft skills that actually make you successful in your career or in your business. I've acquired critical analysis skills, problem solving, communication skills, because one of the things I learned in the process of developing was that if you cannot communicate and sell yourself, then you really cannot sell yourself in your business and you cannot sell yourself in your career. Some of us are well positioned or well experienced or have the skill sets for higher roles, but because we can't sell ourselves, people come pass over us and get the jobs because we can't communicate our value to our employer, or we can't communicate our value to the market where we play in as business owners. So if I'm reflecting on my journey and the things that I've achieved in the last years, it's not just the financial things, it's not just the fact that I've become an investor. Some of us mentioned financial empowerment. I would like to share the fact that I am a chartered accountant. I studied accounting, but I was illiterate in terms of personal finance. And that's one of the things that changed my life when I read the book, The Richest Man in Babylon. If you notice, I always make reference to reading because I would like all of us to go back. The things that we want to be empowered with are basically in the books that we have refused to read. So I have changed in my financial or wealth freedom journey because I began to imbibe and practice the principles of personal finance, principles of saving, investing, getting your money to work for you, saying no to opportunities, those MMM opportunities that look too good to be true, making sure the roof over your head is paid for so you're not exposed to rent every time, getting your money to work for you through shares, stocks, real estate, and things like that. I have changed in that aspect. And these are all as a result. I've changed in my business. I remember when I started my business, at the point it was 30,000 sales a month. And I remember that I used to stop and ask myself, like, what am I really doing here? But remember, that's why I said your why needs to be important. The why I had for my business wasn't necessarily about the money. It was more about me contributing and helping women to, get the kind of confidence they need by restoring their skin to the best possible state naturally. So at that point in my business where I was doing 30,000, it seemed like, what are you doing after 2 years? Throw in the towel. What is this? But the process of growth, learning sales, learning marketing, mastering my business, saying no saying no to requests. I remember, so I make cold processed soaps, which are basically bar soaps that are made with a method that does not use additional heat. But I know if you look at the Nigerian market, your soaps are usually liquid soap, African black soap, and not many people are really using, bar soap. So my business was under pressure. I was under pressure to yield to request. Everybody was like, oh, if you make African black soap, then I'll patronize you. Oh, just make it in liquid form. And I was like, no, I want to stick to this because this retains the benefits of the ingredients. This gives me the kind of product that I want to use and transform the skin of ladies and all that. So that was me saying no and remaining in my niche. And now when you think of the top 10 cold processed soap makers in Nigeria, I dare to say that we are one of them because we stuck to it. And now people are coming back because our soaps are not just soaps. They are delivering the results that we say they will deliver. But that only happened because I said no and stuck to the niche that I wanted because I had a dream, a vision, a goal, a plan for my business. So all these are ways that I would reflect on my journey, but I tie all of these results to the fact that I began to change. And when I began to change through knowledge, through information, through training, I exposed myself to personal finance webinars, personal finance trainings. I signed up for coaching programs. I signed up for trainings, even though I'm an accountant or in the finance sector, in business, I signed up for business trainings. Why? When I change through knowledge and information, then I will get the insight that I need that can help me to achieve the goals that I have in my business, in my career, or in any area of my life. So number 3 was, remember, what have you achieved in the last years? Record it. What have you become? What have you accomplished? What have you acquired? It could be assets. It could be an education. It could be a new skill set. Compare it with your goals. And like I said, if you didn't have any goals, I would like you tonight to come up with goals. Reflect on your journey and write down all that. Then number 4 is, I want you to think and say, what could you have achieved over the last week, the last month, the last quarter that you didn't? And what would have made a difference? Could it be that if you had proper time management, you would have finished that course? Or could it be that if you were more disciplined on the job, your results would have been different? Your employees will notice that promotion then becomes easier? Or could it be because you simply didn't have a plan? The month came and there was no plan. The quarter came and there was no plan. Or the year is even running, has gone past halfway, and there's literally no plan for your finances, no plan for your business, no plan for your career. You clearly cannot, in simple English, in a way that a 3-year-old can understand, explain the goals you have for the different areas of your life. Because I'm big on goals, because it's these goals that will determine the next step you go to in your career. It's these goals that will determine the next step you achieve in your business. It's this clear, stated, smart goals that will determine the kind of results you enjoy in the year. I tell people, organizations, if you work with structured organizations, you will know that by the last quarter of the year, from September, the finance department and the leadership and all, they begin to draft the plan, the budget. A budget is simply a planned activities with monetary value. They begin to plan the budget for the next year. And then I always ask people, if an organization, which is a non-living thing, basically, but powered by individuals, realizes that they can't enter a year without a plan, and they have a detailed plan of what they will do in a quarter, all they will do in a month, all the programs, they monetize it, they put parties responsible, people they are going to work with. If organizations know the importance of that, why do we, who are even working with the organizations, coming up with the plan for the non-living organization, why do we not have such detailed plans for our lives? Why do we not have such detailed plans for our quarter? If you enter a quarter without a plan, the quarter is just going to go. Either in your business, if there was no plan on, okay, in this quarter, I need to meet this number of customers via our marketing outreach, or I need to meet this sales benchmark via, whatever methods you need to sell. Are you having pop-ups? Are you using social media to sell? Or is it your website? If there is no clear plan for the quarter, then that quarter is already wasted. So I want you to take, what could you have achieved? Let's use the year 2024 and say, what could you have achieved in the year so far that you haven't? And what would have made the difference? What would have made the difference for Faith will be different from what would have made the difference for Florence, or what would have made the difference for Immaculata. So you need to think and come up with what could have made the difference for me if to have been able to achieve what I didn't achieve. But then after you write that out, I hope you are writing. Remember, we're going to come to more specific questions and answers that you have concerning your business and your career. So hope you have those questions already. And then I want you to answer, what do you want to achieve in the next 6 months? I want you to come up with 3 most important goals in each area. It could be in your career. You could say, I want to get this skill set so that I can have a better position for the next promotion opportunity that comes up whenever. Maybe annual reviews are coming up in December or January. I want to be better positioned, so I want to achieve this skill set. Or it could be, I want to have XYZ in my savings portfolio, or it could be, I want to begin to invest in the stock market. I was talking with somebody today after church, and she was asking a question about, financial freedom and everything. And I told her, it's funny because, yes, we go to church, we've prayed, we hear stories, Isaac sowed in the land, this, but we don't take action. And I said, for example, almost everybody in Nigeria is receiving emails or adverts or seeing that GT Bank is issuing their shares. Everybody knows the price. 44 naira 50 kobo or something. We're all seeing it online somewhere or the other. But I asked her, how many of us are taking action? How many of us are delving into the stock market? But we want financial freedom. So you can come up with that goal. Come up with what you want to achieve in the next 6 months in your finances, in your business. And maybe when we are having a question and answer session, if you then ask me specific questions. So for example, if you say, oh, I want to reach more people in my business, then you can ask me maybe, how do you do that? Then I can help you. That way I can address the specific questions that different people have, because we can see that we're from different backgrounds and most of us are actually career people. So what are the 3 most important goals in each area? In your career, what do you want to do, achieve, become? And remember, it's not always about getting. The first part you start from is becoming, changing, because when you change, even your organization will recognize that this laddie is not the same laddie as last year. Her skills have improved, her communication has improved. In fact, they begin to send you to represent them in meetings. They begin to ask you to chair meetings, to take the lead on projects. Why? They notice that you have changed. So what are the 3 most important goals in each area? In your finances, in your business, in your career, in whatever. Come up with those things and make sure that what you have lined up to do, you're able to do it and you can achieve it. So you're not coming up with outrageous goals that you have not yet become the person that can achieve it. And then after you've come up with those 3 most important goals on the different areas of your life for the next 6 months, I want you to ask yourself the question and come up with the answer, because you know the answer to that question. What can you do now to achieve this that you're not doing now? What can you do now? For example, if you had goals on financial freedom, and you have a specific benchmark, or I want to earn XYZ in the next 6 months, or I want to save XYZ, or I want to land a role that pays XYZ, anything in terms of financial freedom, for example. So what can you do to achieve this that you're not doing now? And if you go back and reflect on the questions we talked about before, it could be a case of you're not being as diligent, or you're not showing up fully as you should, or you're simply not investing, or you're simply not knowledgeable, so you're not acquiring the knowledge you should have. What can you do that you're not doing now? What things do you need to work on that you're not working on now? If you're able to reflect on these 6 questions that I've taken you through, then you'll be able to chart a path, a course unique to you that can help empower you, help transform you, and eventually transform your career or your business. So that is the different route I decided that we're going to take today, because I didn't want to come on here and, I mean, if I start talking about different niches and markets, they're different. It's a whole world out there, and I didn't want to be using, jargon, financial pricing strategies, where people, you can see some of us are students, some of us are just from different backgrounds, and most of us are actually even career people, But when you reflect on your life and set up these goals, like I want you to come up with your why, identify the skills, the skill sets, the things you need to do, the person you need to become, then you will automatically clearly know that if you take XYZ steps, or KAHA, in the next 6 months, this is where you're going to be. It is said that success is predictable. That's because when you see people taking certain steps, come rain, come shine, it's only a matter of time. They are going to be successful. It's that simple. But if they are not taking those particular steps, yeah, they can cheat in the game. They can, there are many ways to be successful these days. You can do Yahoo, you can do anything in government, but that we know that's not success in the full sense of it. But when you're able to chart this course for yourself, then you'll be able to become that woman that you need to be, to take the next stride, to become a leader in your business field, in your career, or is it in your finances, or is it in entrepreneurship? Either you're already an entrepreneur, thinking of becoming one, or you plan to be one. So that's the route I wanted us to think and go through today. When we change, and you don't change, it doesn't come easy. Change comes by you answering those questions, those difficult questions. A lot of times people stand up and go into their day. We don't think. But if we spend time and actually think, then the day becomes even easier. It becomes easier to plan, allocate time, allocate resources, and do all that needs to be done, because you spend time. It's like the budgeting I talked about. It's like planning your life. So if you're able to think and answer these questions, sometimes thinking is basically looking at the mirror, looking at the man in the mirror and telling yourself, yes, I am fully responsible for the quality of life I'm living now. I'm fully responsible for the kind of job I'm working now. I'm fully responsible for the kind of house I live in, the kind of car I drive, the kind of clothes I wear, the kind of office I work in, the title I'm answering, the money I'm earning. I am fully responsible. And what can I do to get to the next level? Because when I change, everything will change. And what I need to do to change is generally information. But what I need to do to change might be different from the next person. And so that's why you'll be able to chart a path for yourself. And in the next 6 months, you will see the difference in your life, in your business, or in your career. So thank you very much. And the floor is open. Please feel free to ask me questions particular to you. If it's a career-related question, if it's a business-related question, if it's a market question, then I'll be able to address your specific questions. Thank you so much for your time. Good evening.
Wow, 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 wow. Thank you so much, Vivian. Oh my God, I listened so keenly. I was listening like I was sitting on the table across from you. And I can tell you that I actually have about 3 pages. I don't know about anyone else, but I feel like this webinar was for me. So please, I do believe we can all put our hands together for Vivian. She can see your applause. Please put our hands together for her. Please,
Thank
give
you.
honor to whom honor is due. See, I'm not kidding. I have so many pages. Like I have a
Wow.
pages. I'm serious. I was taking notes. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Vivian. You went into details. You shared your personal story with us, even going into a brief overview of how you started your business. You told us
Mhm.
about some of the hurdles you came through. Now, you made a very salient observation when you joined, when you started. You said most of
Mhm.
the women here are career women, which is admirable. The world has
Mhm.
changed. I can see a
Yeah.
lot of women are actually growing. So now,
Mhm.
as an entrepreneur, say you've never explored business and you're terrified. You want to go into entrepreneurship, like you made the
Mhm.
clean transition from
Mhm.
career to entrepreneurship. What are the steps? What are some of, aside from these that you've told us, what are some of the information that these women need to possess to be able to start? What are some of the basics? What do they need to learn so that you can transition from career to entrepreneurship? This
Okay,
is
thank you very much. Thank you for the question. It's quite clear. But just to let you know that I didn't completely transition in the sense that I still work
okay.
and I still run the business as well. So, but one of the things I would say women should do, first of all, is equip themselves with the knowledge about the field, the sector, the business. I can't emphasize this enough. There are a lot of times where people are not really, they are not as knowledgeable as they should be. I mean, if you want to be an industry leader, for example, in a textile industry, you should know all things textile. You should go all out, go for courses, go for shows, trade fairs, conferences, anything textile to master everything you need to know about the business. Yeah, so that's for textile, for example. Then there is the part of knowing about how to run a business, the systems, the structures that you need to put in place, the marketing. Because when you start a business, for example, like I said earlier, when I started, I was doing everything in my business. I was formulating the products, I was managing the Instagram and social media accounts. I was taking the calls. I was managing the books, managing the accounts. So what did that mean? That meant that I had to equip myself with knowledge on these aspects of business. You see a lot of women in business that have not read a business book. They have not. I was speaking with an optometrist recently, and she told me of how she bought a book on optometry clinical management. There is actually a book on how to run a clinic if you have a clinic. And there were so many insights that she was implementing in her clinic. And I was like, wow, I had to go online and I found out that there is actually a book as well for people that run spas and beauty businesses. So when you want to enter business, to give you an edge, because there's already things are already sort of falling in the favor of the men. To give you an edge, you have to be quite knowledgeable. You have to know you have to know your onions. You have to know everything about the business. So apart from knowing the professional or technical part of the business, so for me to be skincare, I have to know everything about oils. I have to know my recipes. I actually went and got trained in 2 schools in the UK. Even though I first learned how to make my products on YouTube, I learned everything about making skincare on YouTube. And then I went and got my certification. And I used that opportunity to simply ask the questions that I couldn't get clarity from on YouTube. That goes to say, to the point you made earlier, that knowledge is everywhere, it's free. Anything you want to learn today, as long as you're willing and you're hungry, you will learn it this night. Okay, so women need to get knowledgeable about the intricacies of business and then the areas of business like accounting. You need to know a little bit about financial management, how to run the books. You need to learn a little bit about debit and credit. I tell business owners, accounting is the language of business. And that's why you see that business owners have to still go to. So even though they didn't study accounting, for example, you have business schools that they have courses. So you see management, leadership, they go for short courses in finance, because accounting is the language of business. And if you can't speak numbers, then are you really in your business? If you don't know how to know your cost price, selling price, profit, profit after tax, net profit, if you really can't speak that language, you're just doing a hustle. You're not yet in business. So I tell women, equip yourself with knowledge. Knowledge is power, and there are different types of knowledge. So the knowledge specific to your industry and the knowledge specific to running a business. Knowledge about sales. Go get books on sales. Knowledge about branding, how to position your brand that will distinguish and separate your brand from other brands. Communication, how to communicate value. A lot of times, and that falls under marketing as well, because a lot of times you might have the best product in the world, but you're not able to sell that. You're not able to communicate value to customers. How in this time and age, you have to learn how to run social media. As a business, we've figured out that we need to get on TikTok. So we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, but we've realized that TikTok is big in the market right now, and a huge number of target market, our demographic, they are on TikTok. So somebody in our team has to master how to use TikTok. So that is the kind of knowledge that women have to equip themselves with. Gone are the days where you say, oh, I can cook food and that's it. You just start cooking food and then you think that is going to, yes, you will make money. But trust me, you're not making as much as you should. Remember, I asked the question, how much, can you become more? There is more in all of us, but that more is brought out through knowledge. So learning things about communication, social media management, financial management, branding, even personnel management. I've interacted with a lot of business owners, and you see they have a high staff turnover. People coming in, leaving today, coming tomorrow, and that affects the quality of your business. That affects, delivering on your deliverables to your customers. And that's because a lot of entrepreneurs don't know that they should expose themselves to personnel management. As a business owner, how do you manage people? Because people are your greatest asset. The people are actually helping to make you rich. So you need to learn people management. You need to learn leadership skills. At a point in my life, I had to realize, and I'm really grateful for starting a business. At the same time, I'm grateful for working in professional offices and organizations because they've helped shape my thinking. They've helped given me a structure. I know how a business should be structured. But then having a business gave me an opportunity to really practice what I've known. And so it came to a point where I realized I had to start learning about leadership. And leadership is about you changing. When I came in newly into the field of leadership, reading the books by John Maxwell, Miles Monroe, and the rest of them, I thought leadership was, I was going to see things about, oh, change the people, make them do like this. And then by the time I started, I saw that leadership is about you changing. When you change as a leader, you then are equipped with the skills to know how to manage people. So these are some of the soft skills that women should equip themselves with. If not, we're just doing a hustle. Yes, we might make money, but we're not making as much as we should. And even when we're making money, we're spending our whole life, our whole time. When time is all we've got, we spend our whole time. When if we had mastered, leadership, delegation, problem solving, communication, sales, financial management, social media, branding, positioning, packaging, those are so many things that we are supposed to equip ourselves with. So it all boils down to knowledge.
Thank you so much for that response. Thank you for responding to that. So what I didn't make reference to earlier was that I'm actually into entrepreneurship, and I did transition from my career. I did transition from my career into the development space with a foundation. I do have a foundation. Dr. Yu has a question. So let's open the floor. Dr. Yu, please, you've raised your hand. The floor is yours. Please express.
Okay. Thank you so much, Vivian, for guiding us through this conversation. So my question is, okay, I'm speaking for myself, and personally, I believe for a lot of people here, many of us, like you've rightly noted, are career professionals. But definitely with the economy now, or maybe due to passion, we may want to start a business. And I know you highlighted that currently you're still working in a career space while still running your business. And you also mentioned that earlier at the beginning of your business, you were the one managing everything. So how were you able to juggle creating that balance with working as well as building your business, especially as a startup at that point in time? How do we create that balance in managing our careers and also starting up a business? Then my second question is, you talked about personal development, even to the point of furthering our education. I don't know if this is a myth, but I know some degrees that are gotten locally here in Nigeria, people don't tend to place a lot of value on Nigerian acquired degrees. So people tend to want to get degrees, foreign degrees. But what of for those who may not have the funds to acquire a degree but still want to further their education? What would be your recommendations with regards to options or credible options that are available here in Nigeria to help them further their education? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see somebody said you have really asked the perfect question for me in the first question. So the first question is basically about how did I juggle running a business and having a career? Especially is really easy now for me, but the difficult part was the startup stage where I was starting the business. And what made it work for me, first of all, what made me even see the possibility, like I said, was I listened to Miles Monroe and he talked about time. Now, time management is one of the skills like communication that everybody needs to master, because time, like I said, is all you've got. Nobody has extra time. And most times we think we're busy, but there are people that have busy schedules, more busy than we are, that are accomplishing a lot more with their time. And that's simply because they've learned and mastered how to manage their time. There are books on time management. If you go online, you will see them. But time management is just like that budget I talked about. Time management is like that planning I alluded to. Time management is, I remember when I listened to Miles, he gave an instruction to do an exercise, just like the things I asked us to do today. The difference is those of us that will actually sit down and ask ourselves those questions and come up with the answers. So he told us to analyze our time. And I literally back then, I sat down and I analyzed what I did. I found out that, yes, I get to work. I wake up in the morning, let's say 5, you pray, you do everything, you get ready. And then 8, you will be in the office and you work in the office till like 5:30, I'll be back home. So from 8 to 5:30 was for work. And his question was, what do you do with your 6 to 10 or your 6 to 11 or your 6 to 12? Meaning, what do you do after work hours? That is the time that is actually fully yours. What do you do with that time? When I sat down back then and reflected, I really wasn't doing much. I wasn't really doing much. Back then, I would watch football, I would just chill. Let's go here, let's do this. There was nothing tangible that I was allocating my time to. I was not spending my time intentionally. When you spend time, it means that you are aware of what you're doing with these 30 minutes. In fact, you even knew. There are some people that if you ask them, most people that understand time management, they work with calendars. And so if you ask them from now about something in August 20th, they will look at their calendar and they can tell you it is fully occupied. That person is an excellent time manager and is spending their time. Now, if you want them to do something for you, you will then have to fit into their free time. So the bottom line is when you do that exercise, you would actually see that you have time. and you can budget it, you can structure it in such a way that you can apportion time for your business. So I did that exercise and it stuck with me. That's when I realized I had time. And then I committed to going back to having ICANN lectures so that I could finish my ICANN. But I've carried that process on. So when I then started a business, like I got the idea of the business about a year after. I think a year or a few months after I listened to Miles when he died. That was 2014. I think I registered my business in 2015, but I got the idea like December of 2014. So in less than a month, I got the idea for my business. And then I was like, how am I going to start? And when I did my time management plan, I discovered that I would use my after work hours to produce my soaps. So that's how I started. Everybody around me in my family, then everybody knew, friends, everybody knew. So I'm a Christian, so I'm always in church for church services. So that was mostly Wednesdays. So Wednesday evening is for church. So on Mondays and Tuesdays and Thursdays, I was making soap during those periods. As my business started increasing, I started adding other products. Saturday is production day. I started saying no to things that are irrelevant to my dream to build my skincare business. Yeah, parties, events that I really don't have to be at. I will say, no, I'm producing. Because I was the only one. At that point, I was the only one in the business. I was the only one that was trained to produce. So I had to produce. Even when I started getting more staff, joining the business, at some point, I was still the only one producing. So I had to look at my time and plan it. So when you do this time management, you sit down and look at your time. You will see that there is time that you literally just spend on your phone. There's time that you just spend gisting, making phone calls. Or there's time that you're just wasting, So that was how I was able to juggle it. Time management at the initial stage. I would produce in the evenings. I would produce on Saturdays, over the weekends and all. And like she said, during work hours, remember I told you that I learned how to make my first set of skincare on YouTube. During work hours, I always had something playing, either a motivational message, Christian message, or an audio book, or recipes, or I was watching people make soap and skincare on YouTube. So I was also, until date, I do that. I maximize my work hours. In a day, most times, I could listen to 3, 4, 1 or more than 1 hour podcasts, messages, whatever it is, online while working. Because working, I literally, like she said, I'm using my hands on my laptop. But instead of, some people use that time and listen to music. They say they can't work without music. But while the ex is listening to music, I'm listening to information. I'm listening to an audiobook, and I'm buying back my time. Because somebody might say, I'm busy, or when will I now read the book? You can use an audiobook so that while you're working, for years, I literally do not listen to radio. Since I ever got a car, I listen to radio only on Sundays as I'm driving to church, because they tend to play Christian music. After that, I'm either listening to something on the CD player. So I maximize my driving time. That is time you use and spend and learn something new, learn a skill, learn about marketing, learn about sales, learn about communication, learn about branding with your ears. That is how I did it at the beginning. So that's an exercise everyone can practice. And if you don't have a calendar, as long as you have a Google Mail, you have a Google Calendar, you can wake up today and say, do you know what? Going forward, I'm going to start planning my calendar. Look at your calendar and block out time. And you will see that you have ample time. You can even block out time for family. I block out time for calls, block out time for gym, block out. By the time you begin to block and spend time that way, you will see where you have free time. This is what happens when people create a budget. By the time you've created a budget, you will see where you have savings. You will see where clearly, you will see where you're overspending time. You see where you're overspending time. And when you're time conscious and you learn time management, then it becomes easy to juggle an upcoming business. At the beginning part of the business, you'll be using your extra time after work hours. Your after work hours should be purely, if you're a family person, you come back, you know, you will cook, you know, that extra 2 hours that you have before sleeping, that is then the time that you use and pour into your business, either at the development stage, you're writing the business plan during those hours, or you're working on it. If it's design, if it's sewing, those 2 hours, there is always a free time. No matter how busy, nobody is as busy as Dangote here. Nobody is as busy as Tony and Melu. Nobody has meetings here as much as they do. So in as much as we say we're busy, we need to put that busyness in context. Put it in black and white. Write it out. What was I busy doing? From 8 to 9, what do I do? From 9 to 10. Write it out and observe yourself for a week. Then you will see how time is being wasted. Then as my business started growing, I realized that I needed to put structures and systems. So if you're already in business, maybe you've run business for 2, 3, 4 years, and it seems like, oh, you can't juggle the business and career, the next thing you need to do is to put in structure and systems. And how did that happen for me? I was still managing the Instagram page. I remember I was working with this NGO at some point, Doctors Without Borders, and my boss then, we are all in the same office. He was like, he started complaining, like, you're always on your phone. Now, they didn't know that I had a business. I just used to keep that private, you know, wherever I work. It depends on the work environment. Sometimes, even at an interview, I let them know that I make skincare. And sometimes, you know when best to disclose. But at that point, they didn't know. But I was constantly on my phone. And I remember I started falling sick because I'm answering people on Instagram. I'm doing my accounting work. And then you're managing how you press your phone so that your boss doesn't feel like you're just on Facebook, because that's what they think, because he didn't know it was a business. You're attending to customers, then you can't fully attend to customers. If a customer is calling and you're in a meeting, you will not answer the call. I was limiting my business and I was stressing myself. And then I remember that I needed to take a decision. And then I said, you know what, I'm going to put in structure. I'm going to get in somebody else. And I'm going to delegate. I'm going to let go. My fear then was I felt like, oh, if I leave the Instagram page, the English, how will they communicate with the people? If they're not speaking good grammar, you know, those kind of things were bothering me. So I couldn't let go. You know, how will they sell? They've not learned selling. But when I said, I am limiting my business, your business only grows when you let go, because you can only be at one place at one time. But when you let go, delegate to people, bring in technology, systems, and structures, then your business begins to thrive. But when you're the same person, you're doing everything. It's great to do everything so that you know how things are done. But as fast as you can begin to let go, bring in somebody else in the team. Far back before remote work, before COVID and remote work became a common thing, I let go of my social media. I engaged a former staff who had gone on to school, and I engaged her as a remote digital virtual assistant. She began to answer everybody on Instagram, and she does it till date. She does it late night hours. When the staff at the office is done by 5, she begins by 5 till 10 or 11 when she sleeps. All through the weekend, my regular staff, they don't come to work over the weekend, so they don't have access to customers. This virtual and digital staff, she attends to call. As we're talking now, if you begin to chat us on our page on Instagram, she's going to be attending to you. Now that has freed me up to focus on more important things, to do only what I can do, which is the creative side of the business. Charting the course, saying where should we be? We should start expanding here. Going for grants, applying for grants. Even at some point, I will get a grant manager who is going to be pitching the brand for grants, writing those grants, going for those programs, getting the grants. It will no longer be I. So as your business starts growing, you need to start looking at my own level, how can I put some form of structure? For example, sponsoring your ads on social media is a structure, is a marketing structure. How is it a structure? As I'm speaking to you now, our sponsored ads are coming in the faces of different people across Nigeria while we speak. I don't have to be on my phone posting or having cold calls with people. the structured ad and sponsored ad is a structure for marketing, so that whether I'm sleeping, if my customer decides that they want to wake up by 12 and engage on social media, they meet my advert. That is a structure. And I've freed up myself. I've freed up myself from having to post every day and try to create engaging content. No, I just create one amazing content of a feedback and I sponsor it and go my way. Now that's a structure, and that has freed up my time, because you have to remember, all you have is time. It's 24 hours. Nobody's going to give you more. And there are people doing way more than you. There are people that are really way busier than you. If you say you're a parent, there are people that have triplets, quadruplets, and are running a business and are going to school. If you talk of education, you see our contemporaries abroad. Some of them do night school. They are working 2 jobs. In America, that's a norm. They're in school, they're working 2 jobs, they have a family, and they're starting a hustle. How are they doing it? They have the same 24 hours. It's because they've been able to analyze and spend their time. Until you're intentionally spending your time, it's just going and then you think you're busy. So time management is a skill that you need. Then with that, you put in structure in the business. You don't need to employ everybody. Put in structure and then start delegating, start letting go. And when you delegate and let go, there will be a learning curve for that staff. So I made peace with the fact that, okay, for the next 3 months, I'm going to correct her. I'll correct the grammar. I'll correct, grit. And then I realized, no, I could even put more structure. I created templates. So if you reach out to us on social media, you will get a standard greeting, a personalized standard greeting, telling you who we are, what we do, what we can offer you, and asking you for the next level. Now, that saved me from correcting her errors and every time. No, I simply created a template. There's a template that comes automatically. And Instagram and social media, they make these things easy. For example, on social media, you have what you call saved replies. So I simply saved the standard replies that are excellent, that I want a customer to kind of engage with. So if you ask us of delivery, there's a standard template. That way, I have put in a structured response that is excellent, is detailed, and eliminated some of the errors. Then, in the meantime, I was correcting the errors and making sure that it's changing. And now I don't have to go in there. My going in there is because I just need to check in and just, I was reading a book. I'm reading a book currently by Mary Kay, which is one of the best, everybody knows Mary Kay, and she was actually a Christian, and she has a book on leadership, and she said, don't stop doing what you did to get to where you are, So I always go in there, check in, touch base with some customers. Sometimes I just feel like chatting with the customer. That way I'm getting feedback. But I don't need to do it. And we make sales, and it's no longer me making the sales, it's my team. I'm totally off it. I'm now focused on the creative aspect. But that's because I've mastered time management. I'm spending my time doing what only I should be doing. And then I've put in some structure, and then I've acquired certain skills. Sometimes we are busy because we are not really skilled in doing what we should be doing. There is a task you will give to 2 people. One person finishes it in 10 minutes. Another person takes 2 hours to do it. Why? The level of skill is different. So sometimes we're spending so much time, or rather wasting so much time, because we're not as skilled as we should be, So I would tell you, if you want to start a business as a career professional, you need to master time management. I've already talked about mastering the business, so you know how to enter, reduce your errors, but then you need to master time management to juggle your career time and your personal time. And then you need to put some form of structure, even structure as, okay, I will work on my business from this time to this time on this particular day, 3 days a week. Focus on that structure, you will begin to see results. Remember, there's a principle of compound interest. You'll begin to see results. Now, going over to personal development. In Nigeria, you can imagine the cost of getting foreign education now is very expensive. And that's why one principle is do what you need to do when you're supposed to do it. There are a lot of people now who could have done a lot of things earlier when the Naira was much stronger, but we kept on procrastinating. Like, I can't even think of what it would have cost me now to do my MBA. I just graduated last year. My MBA was £30,000. Can you imagine how much £30,000 is now? So if I had, because there was no rush, the only reason I decided to do the MBA was because I have a dream, of taking certain roles. And for those kind of roles, they need you to have an MBA. There was it's not that I just needed to throw away money and money was just sitting and lying down. It's because it aligned with my vision. But imagine if I did not take action back then. Now I'll be facing, some people will have to shelve some of those plans just because they didn't take action. That was just to touch on procrastination. But personal development does not have to be about getting a master's degree. Like I said, after my first master's degree was in international business management. Still, I had no clue about business. I did not want to start a business. I just did it because I needed a break from banking and I wanted to come back and then switch to development. In retrospect, if I would have done a different course in my master's degree that was targeted at the development sector, there are different, development courses and degrees, yeah? Which is to say that your success does not really depend on that MBA or MA. It's about you. And there are so many ways to personally develop that can increase your worth and your value in the market. If you develop your skill sets, if you even develop communication skills, if you even develop a language skill, I give this example a lot in the development sector. If you're going for global or remote roles or for really international organizations that have their projects in different countries, most times they want you to have an additional language. So I tell people, if you imagine being an accountant that is very fluent in French, immediately you've put yourself at the top of the list for those opportunities. Because how many accountants in Nigeria can speak Spanish? There are roles that I'm checking out and you see they want you to either speak Spanish or Portuguese and not just French. So imagine that I knew how to speak Spanish or Portuguese. Automatically, I have put myself at the top of the 1% of accountants in the world, because how many accountants in the world can speak so many languages? So personal development, it goes back to a mindset change. Because when you also say studying abroad, there are also levels to studying abroad. Are you studying in Harvard? Are you studying in Oxford? Are you studying the top 5 universities in whatever country you're going to? Because there are some organizations that also will want to look at it that way. It's not just about going to any school and then because the school is in London, you have a certificate. No. Sometimes we make those decisions out of desperation and we've wasted our money, because sometimes when these global employers are employing, I remember earlier in my career, I was applying for a job back then in Shell. Back then, we just wanted to get out of the bank. So I think it's Shell or one of these oil companies that were employing. And they had a drop down on the list of schools. So my application stopped at the point where my school was not in the drop down. There was I couldn't proceed. So just getting a master's abroad, it doesn't really cut it if you have not known and figured out who you are, And personal development is not just a degree. It's just changing the way you think. It's mastering the skills. What actually differentiates you from people is skills like communication. Because 2 of you can have an MBA from the same school, and one person is able to position and sell themselves, and you're simply not. You're just sending out the same CV. Yes, I have a master's in. There are people that went to Harvard that are not working or are struggling to get a job. Why? Somebody else has communication skills. Somebody else knows how to position themselves. They have great, excellent networking skills. They know how to go into the rooms and make an impression. So we need to rewire our mind to say that personal development is not just about getting a degree. And remember, when I say you need to figure out what you need to do, what you need to do has to line up with your vision. The only reason I did an MBA is because it lines up with my vision to get a director position in the development sector. That's it. It's not because I think an MBA is going to put food on my table. No, I've landed successful roles without it, So It's just personal development is developing yourself, developing your skill set. There are free courses. Google has free courses. Udemy has free courses. Coursera has free courses. So you always, in life, you always have to start with what you have, not be wondering about what you cannot do and cannot have. If you don't have the resources and the money, does that then mean that you're not going to be successful in life? No, there are 1,000,001 successful people that don't have a master's degree or don't have an MBA or don't have a doctorate or don't have a PhD, but they have mastered certain life skills that are necessary to get to the next level that they have. So you just need to sit down and say, okay, what's my vision? What's even my vision of success? You know, because success is relative. Success to one person is landing this role. Success to another person is getting financial freedom. Success to another person for me now is being able to do with my time what I want to do with my time. So people are rushing. I remember early on, I remember there was a church I was in, and they used to have a morning program. I think it was the first of the month or something. So everybody comes in early. And if it's a work day, by 7, everybody's rushing. There's such a crowd. Everybody's trying to rush. And I remember back then I told my brother, like, I noticed that the well-to-do people were not rushing off to any job. Why? They're in control of their time. Because for me, time, being in control of my time, is the real freedom, is the real wealth. Doing with my time what I want to do. And then I told my brother, like, I can't wait to be on this level where for programs or things that I'm passionate about, I don't have to be rushing because of the job. And I can say that I'm very close to that point in my life where I spend my time the way I want to spend it. I can decide to go to the gym on Monday morning. That does not mean that I'm less busy or not as successful as that person that is. No, I've defined what success is for me. And then I'm equipping myself with the skills and the knowledge to make sure that this kind of lifestyle that I have designed for myself is attainable. So the actions that you take have to be in line with your vision and your goal. So there are free courses, there are skills, there are different ways. Like I said, I learned how to make soap on YouTube. When I saw the bar of soap, I was on holiday in Dubai, and I saw the bar of soap in the Boots store. It smelled so good because then my mind was open to having a business. I thought I could do a franchise. And then I wanted to email the company because it was written in Arabic. So I wanted to email the company. I needed to go online and find their website. I wanted to email them and say, okay, how can I franchise your products in Africa? But the soap had nature something soap in it. I still have bars of the soap. And when I typed that on Google, it began to bring out videos. It shows you YouTube, it shows you, different things, and it shows you DIY, make your own soap. Literally, that was the first time I knew that you could make soap on your own. So I literally learned how to make soap online. There are free mini MBA courses online. There are trainings that give women opportunity for a free mini MBA course. You apply for those trainings. You apply for grants that are not just giving you money, but are exposing you to MBA level information. A lot of times, these grants that train women, they take the principles you get in an MBA and they break it down for you. So you have to make do, use what you have to get what you want. And don't cry over, oh, the money, the dollar, forget that, forget that. Some of us might never go to Harvard. Like now, if I'm going to Harvard, it might be just to do a course. And it's not necessarily about the course, it's because I want to increase my network. I want to have access to the people in the room in that course. It's not as if the course is going to increase my bread and butter, no. But I'm taking that course because I want to increase my network. So you see, my purpose and goal for going on that course is different. Whereas somebody is thinking they want to take their whole savings, believing that, oh, if they get to that course, then their life can change. No, when you change your life, your finances, your business, everything will change. So if you look around, there are several ways to develop personally. Break it down into skills like we've talked about. Buy books. Buy books. There are books that are mini MBAs. There are books that will take you through whatever topic it is you feel you want to learn in school. And when you can apply the knowledge, even in your workplace, they will begin to see your value and you begin to rise. acquire different skill sets. So they will tell you, for example, you work in finance. So I work in the finance field. But over time, I avail myself to the HR people and learn one or two HR things. What has that made me? It has made me a better employee than the accountant that just says, you know what, I'm just doing my debit and credit. I don't want to know what HR is doing. I don't want to know what the marketing department is doing. I don't even want to know what the project department is doing. So that is actually personal development, availing yourself to information about a skill, and all that information is out there online. So let's let go of the excuse of doing an MBA abroad and all. No, if that's the definition of success, then a lot of us in Nigeria are not going to be successful, because it's not even up to 1% of Nigerians that have access to schooling abroad. And there's so many people that have schooled abroad that have still not made anything with their life. For example, even after my first master's degree, my life was still clueless. Career-wise, I was still clueless. The only thing I knew was that I'm entering the NGO. I still didn't know how to, grow and all. And I didn't even know how to start a business, even after doing a master's in business management. So wow. For personal development, start with what you have, start with the books, start with specific skills like time management, communication, marketing, branding, tech. If you're in the tech space, how many books on tech have you read? Coding, expose yourself to those trainings. There are so many trainings on YouTube that are free. Somebody literally sits down and trains you on how to use Excel. It's there. Python. All those things are free. Then you can take it a notch further on Udemy and Coursera. You can get some of these courses, MBA level, for 4,000. Sometimes when I want, there are courses I've bought on Udemy that I've not even started. I just bought it and left it. Why? I saw they're doing a sale and I get something that was 40-something thousand. I get it for 4,000. That's because I have a goal, I have a plan, and I'm not yet there, but I've seen the opportunity. I buy it and I keep it because I know I'm going to use it. Okay, thank you.
Vivian, in fact, what I see here is this has been a mini masterclass. And I do think at this point, we do need to commend Dr. Hamilton for putting this together, the convener of this webinar, because it was well thought out. And before we release you, we have about 3 minutes to wind down. But before we release you, there is no greater gift than if you share some resources to which these women can explore. Resources in terms of grants. You mentioned grants that free MBA courses. You can release some resources to which every woman here present can explore in their own time. You can also make recommendations for some take-home books. Please, let's just do that. We have about 3-4 minutes to wind down. I can't get enough of you. I feel like for me, this has been the highlight of my day, especially because tomorrow is Monday, so I get to begin to practice some of these things. So without further ado, please, can you give us some resources in terms of study, resources in terms of reading, and of course, resources in terms of free training, free courses, and free grants. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Like I said, everybody's needs here is different. And by the time you answer those questions and begin to chart your course, what you need will be different from another person. The skill sets you need will be different. So in terms of books, I will literally tell you, when you identify the path you want to go on, just go online and Google, let's say, time management books, and you will see recommendations. Pick at least 1 or 2. If there's a PDF version, you go for it. If there's an audio version on YouTube, you go for it. Why? Because we need to have different needs. But one book I'll recommend that will help to adjust you in planning and setting up your life will be The Power of Focus. The Power of Focus by Jack Canfield. It's one book that will change your life. For your finances, I already said The Richest Man in Babylon. For grants, opportunities are always out there. You have to be working together with social media. So social media, the internet, we have to master how to use it to our advantage. Now, for example, there's a website called Opportunity for Africans. That's literally where I see all the grants that I avail and access. So if you go to www.opportunityforafricans, or if you go to Opportunity Desk. So Opportunity Desk brings out all the grants, trainings, accelerators, whatever, all those things that are made available to either in financial form or as a training worldwide. Yeah. But opportunity for Africans takes it further and only, shares those programs that Africans can avail themselves of. So, but you have to go through each post to see, okay, are Nigerians able to participate in this? I have that opened constantly on my desktop. So at least once a week, I browse through and see what are the new opportunities. Is it the Actors Bank going on? That was how I was able to access the AWEC opportunity last year, and I was a member for 1 year. Tony, and different MTN, there are so many grants that are constantly going on, either to build your skill set or to build you as an entrepreneur or to even avail you to money. So opportunities for Africans is one way to access those grants. For books, I would say find books that are tailor-made to suit you, but you can start with The Power of Focus. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You've given out so much virtue this evening. My prayer for you is that for everything good that you've given out to each and every one of us, I pray the Lord will surely replenish you. He will renew you and he will continue to increase you on all sides. Our speaker today has, of course, been Vivian Savia. Don't forget to patronize nature. So please share your social media handles in 1 minute so people can continue to correspond with you.
Okay, thank you. So you can reach us at Nature's Bar on Instagram. So it's just Nature's Bar on Instagram. But if I can add a parting word, one of the things that changed my life is the statement that says, act on what you know. So what is going to make the difference today is if we actually go back and take action, answer those questions, reflect, implement. Is it on time management, communication, whatever steps we need to take? We need to take action because it's the action that is going to differentiate our next 6 months from the past 6 months. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Amazing parting words. My name is Miriam Adiola Gbadibo. Thank you so much. It's been an honor to be the moderator on this session. Thank you so much. This is where we end this webinar today. So go forth as women and bless the world with all the skills and the knowledge that you've taken away from this seminar. This is where we call it a wrap, and a very good evening to us all. Thank you so much, Vivian, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you all.